Hey, Shalom, Akim. First and foremost, call hello, Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushua, Bahashim Kokwadash. Once again, double honors are due and go out to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone. Salutations also go out to the Akim out there on the highways and byways across the four corners of the earth, pushing this truth, trying to wake up the remaining, hopefully, elect. This is now Mount DC camp. And thought I'd share this article with you. It's just going to make you reflect on all the bullshit you learn, especially people of my generation and older, growing up during and a little bit after the so-called civil rights era. And all this shit that you learn in school, you find out it's just that shit. All right, it's all lies and propaganda. So what I'm gonna do is go ahead and get the definition of propaganda real quick, because that's all this is. There we go. That's all this has ever been. All right, and every country has it. The United States is no different. Propaganda, the systematic propagation of a doctrine or cause or of information reflecting the views and interests of those advocating such a doctrine or cause. All right. Let's see. Let's get Miriam's, which appears to be more to the point, which I'm trying to, let's see. Number 2, propaganda. The spreading of ideas, information, or rumor for the purpose of helping or injuring an institution, a cause, or a person. And that applies to Jake. You got to remember, Jeremiah 17:4, we law where everything was taken from us, even the name of the Most High. Why? We're the ones. We're the guilty party here. All right. 3, ideas, facts, or allegations spread deliberately to further one's cause or to damage an opposing cause. America is that shining city on a hill. Everybody wants to come here, which I have to admit, because of said propaganda, that was the case until they stayed here a while. All right. This is that same spirit, because it's the same people. When you look at history and you learn about the Greeks, or those that would later conquer that region and start calling themselves Greeks. I'm talking about descendants of Alexander, his father Philip II, Philip of Macedon, those people, all right, their descendants. And then later, the Romans of the same stock, they're all Edom, all right? So that's what their MO is. They gather all these people from different nations, all right, and bring them up under this umbrella, what we call now democracy, because they tell that lie also. Well, civilization, or Western civilization that is, started with the Greeks. No, wickedness increased under the so-called Greeks, the Edomites, all right? And it increased even more with the Romans, those Edomites, in the pagan Roman Empire. And then Jake, a lot of people don't know that, Jake, after that went down, pagan Jake with the Holy Roman Empire, all right? And then that fell, and then you had roughly 1,000 years where these Edomites were in a really low estate. You know, when you study about the, that's why they don't like to talk about the so-called Dark Ages. But when you study the wild man of Europe, yeah, this so-called white man was, you know, up in those caves, you know, doing some, I mean, we're talking animalistic low. All right. That's why they don't like to talk about, well, there nothing happened to it. No, you were not in rulership. You were in a very low estate. All right. And that's where you should have been. That's why they call you the basis of men. But back to this. Let's go back to the article. But this whole thing, my point, is based on lies. So let's get into this article. It says, even after the Civil War, between roughly 1895 and 1966, there wasn't a single southern state in the U.S., not one, that functioned as a democracy. All right? And it goes on to say, for African Americans, the South, where most of us lived at that time, was a fascist republic of states. None of the states were democratic or operated as democracies. That's true. Florida, Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, Tennessee, South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, Texas, Virginia, Arkansas, and Kentucky. Yep. First-hand knowledge of this. African Americans had no rights. Hold on, it keeps skipping on me. African Americans had no rights that those states recognized. All right, African Americans had no civil rights or voting rights. They were non-citizens. In some, they were not even considered human beings. Okay. Does it say anything about so-called Jews here? Nope. They were in constant danger for their lives for any or no reason, and many lost their lives. Let's get scripture to, again, I'm trying to prove a point here because someone's saying that where are the Jews, where are the Jews, where are the Jews? We're always, we're under constant threat. No, you don't fit that profile, but we do. Let's see. Let's go Deuteronomy 28. Come on here. All right. Straight to the point. At 65. And it says, among these nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest. For the Most High Yahweh shall give thee there a trembling heart, and failing of eyes, and sorrow of mind. That doesn't fit the small hats, the 48ers, but they want you to think that. All right, for any of you that have been paying attention to this Kanye West and Kyrie Irving thing, Irving didn't do anything. All right. And they're trying to make him jump through all kinds of loops. All right. For something that, because they took offense, which was something that wasn't even in, let's be clear, this appears to be controlled opposition. I'm talking about the people who did this documentary. Again, everybody's focused on this. They're not focused on what we've been saying all along. All right. So therefore, guess what? They're going to be taken up and taken out by that mess. It's going to be a stomach block to a lot of people. All right. It says, our children, oh, wait a minute. It says they were in constant danger for their lives for any and no reason. And many lost their lives. Even in Washington, D.C., which that's where I reside, the nation's capital, Jim Crow ruled the lives of African Americans. Our children do not get taught these salient facts in grade school, no. And even though all this information is coming out now, guess what these pieces of shit have done? Even though none of this was taught in kindergarten through the 12th grade, they're so ashamed of the truth. All right. But you got to understand, this is shit that they took pride in. You look at all those photographs of Jake being strung up, tortured. You see all these motherfuckers there. They got on their Sunday best. This was an event for them to see Jake tortured, begging for their lives, having various body parts cut off, and then passed around as souvenirs. They little sick pieces of shit. This was sport for them. Now, all of a sudden you want to be sensitive? Nah. This shit coming out, you know. This is that Habakkuk 2:16, you know. Let's get that real quick. Habakkuk 2. And everybody's seeing it, all right? This is Habakkuk 2:16. Thou art filled with shame for glory. Drink thou also, and let thy foreskin be uncovered. The cup of the Most High Yahweh's right hand shall be turned unto thee, and shameful spewing shall be on thy glory. That's the whole point. Lamentations 4, verses 21 and 22. This cup is slavery and all the things that come as a result of being in that lower state. Like you did us, you're going to get double. All right. It says, let's see. Our children do not, I have to read again, do not get taught these facts in grade school. They get taught nonsense. Yep. No wonder they are at times confused and easy to lead. They stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. They are mostly convinced slowly and methodically that America made a few mistakes, but mostly America is good and perhaps great. I am not debating America's goodness or greatness, and that's something you should not get lost in. We want the facts. I am just stating facts, like Charles Dickens once wrote, just the facts. Or Sergeant Friday in Dragnet. So I stood for the pledge. I was never told this history. I was mostly lied to when I was in grade school. And that's all Colin Kaepernick wanted you to, you know, all he did was kneel and protest to our people getting slaughtered by the police. You know, and motherfuckers just went ape shit, you know. Just play ball. I mean, it's just letting you know that, yeah, we gotta get the fuck up out of here. Anyway, it says, my father and others told me this history. I was given books to read that slowly dripped this history into my being. Sometimes my anger is intense when I learn how much of a lie I've been told about what happened. My mother, who was born in South Carolina, does not say much about the time. I think it is just too much to revisit emotionally. My father, born in Baltimore, mostly suppressed it as well. Yes, Baltimore's in the South, if you are wondering. That's D.C. is in the South. All is, you know, still in the South here. A lot of people, wow. I'm not going to get into that. But anyway, it goes on to say, even more disturbing than my friend's statement is that these states in the South broke off from the Union and tried to basically overthrow the government. They went to war to maintain the enslavement of so-called African people, which we're not. We're Israelites. They went to war for white supremacy. And that's something our people either choose to forget or were never aware of. And let's be honest, Jake just is comfortable in their ignorance. All right, you got to understand the small hats through various forms of media has dumbed Jake down to the point where all they're concerned about is making money to get the nice whip, get the nice girl. That's it. Just really basic carnal shit, you know. Anyway, continuing on, then they lost, and yet a few went to prison. And ultimately, all of them re-entered the Union of States, and they established fascist states in America at the expense of us. And that goes into Lincoln. Lincoln never, ever intended to go through with his so-called promise. All right. And the politicians at the time knew this. It was just a ploy. His only concern was saving the Union. It wasn't anything. We were just, you know, a means to an end. If that. All right. Anyway, they operated anti-democracies. Democracies for some of the people. And it's no illusion for Jakes when they say, well, hell, immigrants when they come over here, you know, and that's true. But here's the really sad part, and it applies to even today, even more so today when you think how supposedly more people are supposed to be educated. But then I remember a factoid from years ago. An 8th grader in the 1800s, I can't remember the exact time period, I want to say around pre-Civil War, an 8th grader was the equivalent of what now is a sophomore college. Think about that. Think about that. Anyway, so continuing on, and they make a point here, and people actually argue about reparations. Good point. But see, you have to understand, we want here at Great Millstone and others that teach like doctrine, we understand that the only reparations that matters is the biblical reparations, and that's Revelation 13, 9, and 10. In fact, let's get that real quick. All right, because all this, anything else ends up going back to them. If you're paying attention, that's how they try to restructure it. This is Revelation 13 and 9. It says, if any man have an ear, let him hear. Meaning, if you've got the understanding, listen. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. Did they not lead us? And yet, the Christian church will have you to try to believe that, and guess who's pushing this? All right, this isn't something that Jake came up on his own. You got to understand, these people, for the most part, have gone to the enemy's schools, his seminaries, his theologian schools, all of that, to learn his take on something that's yours. Now, you try to convince me how that makes any kind of sense. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. Also, this place, and even MLK told you this. He said, I fear, well, before they blew him away, because he was set up too. You know, that's a whole nother video. But he realized at the end was why he made this statement. I fear I've led my people into a burning house, and this place is a burning house. All right, and in that cryptic speech that he gave the night before he got killed about the promised land and all that, he knew exactly who we were. All right, but he had already sold out. There's pictures of him with Mr. Burns himself, Jacob Rothschild, and a couple of more of them pieces of shit. And then some, what was it? Communists, you know. But the guy was set up. You know, there's questions about his doctoral thesis and all this, about plagiarism. Hey, look it up for yourself, you know. But this is what our people fall for. Because they know that we're looking for that one. All right, we're always looking for that one. Another clue. All right. Anyway, so let's go back, see what, finish this out. Whoops. What the hell did I do? Salakia. Don't take much, touch the wrong thing. All right, let's see where I leave off here. Yeah, and people actually argue about reparations. Again, I just told you what true reparations will be. They're going to be put in the chains. All right, in fact, damn, almost, why didn't I get this one? They're going to be put in the chains, all right? This is Psalms. Let's see. So I can, yeah. All right, there we go. Here it is. This is Psalms chapter 149. I was 10 off. Anyway, it says, actually, I can read the whole thing, but I'm going to try to go straight to the point as I can. I start at 6. Let the high praises of the Most High be in their mouth, and a two-edged sword in their hand, to execute vengeance upon the heathen and punishments upon the people, to bind their kings with chains and their nobles with fetters of iron, to execute upon them the judgment written. I gave you a few Lamentations, 4, 21, and 22. We can go to Isaiah 34th chapter, Ezekiel 25, Isaiah 63rd chapter, Isaiah 14th chapter, Ezekiel 28th chapter, Obadiah. All right, Job 14 and 5. I mean, you could go on and on and on. Job 7, 15 and 16, Job 9 and 15. The short of it is, he doesn't have that much longer. All right, Revelation 12th chapter, Revelation 16, Revelation 17, Revelation 18, on and on and on. All right, 19, to the end, and the Apocrypha. He's done. That's the point. All right, but here's the thing. You got to understand, what aided us is what? The Word. The Word. All right? These are the things that aided us, that washing by the Word. Not some dirty-ass creek that you got dipped in. All right? That was symbolic. It's the Word. All right, that's how he's gathering us. When you talk about Psalms 19, or and that's what's happening now, by the way, with this Kanye and Kyrie Irving thing, which I'm about to get right here. Like I say, the Most High is playing chess, not checkers. This is Romans 10, and straight to the point. And it says, "But I say, have they not heard? Yes, verily, their sound went into all the earth." How did it do that? The internet. See how it was used to get this word out, and it woke up who was supposed to wake up, and it's still a thing in progress. All right, but it doesn't have that much longer to go, because the enemy, all right, is going to do his thing. He's grieved by all this. Trust me. And their words unto the ends of the earth. Let me read it again. Romans 10 and 18. "But I say, have they not heard? Yes, verily, their sound went into all the earth, and their words unto the ends of the world." But these are not our words. All right. This is how we're doing it. Whoops. This is how, and what's being done here. Let's go to Hosea. I always get this backwards. Hopefully yeah, I got it right. I usually can, This is Hosea chapter 6, verse 5. "Therefore have I hewed them." Who's the them? The enemy. In particular, the nation of Edom. These are the ones that rule the earth. "By the prophets. Therefore I have hewed them by the prophets. I have slain them by the words of my mouth, and thy judgments are as the light that goeth forth." All All right, these are not our words. These are words of the Heavenly Father. This is Isaiah 55th chapter, right? My word does not come back void. Let's get that real quick. It's Isaiah 55. Let's see. 11. So shall my word be that goeth forth out of my mouth. It shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please, and it shall prosper in the thing whereto I sent it. All right. So these prophecies, everything is going as was prescribed. All right. All right. Now, here it is. Let's finish this up. And people actually argue about reparations. When you find out all the shit we went through, everybody else, Japanese going to these internment camps because war is going on. All right. You name it, they get taken care of. The only thing about reparations that should be in dispute is what form the reparations should be when they are implemented. I already told you, that should not be something you concern yourself about because this devil is still in power. So in some shape, form, or fashion, he's going to rig it so he prospers from it. In effect, by 1890, these fascist states in the South reached a consensus about how to resolve growing racial tensions. And it was Jim Crow. Most African Americans still lived in the South, and this dominant racial attitude was the South's religious and moral creed. Overall, whites all across America feared African Americans, but in the South, the state and the police power of that state had the law behind it. Again, who are you gonna run to? Psalms 43 and 1. Who are you gonna run to? Everything was separate. Cemeteries were racially segregated, as were movie houses and even the ticket counters. And also the most segregated day of the week was Sunday. If there were white customers in post offices or banks, African Americans had to wait for them to be served first. It was a ridiculous, stupid system. It is hard to believe it even existed, yet it did. And you should know, the reason I started out talking about these small hats is because it was on the History Channel, and someone else did a documentary, speaking about documentaries, and they talked about how even the Germans admitted. So you got to understand, a lot of this has been hush-hush. Even during the Nuremberg trials, the Germans, when they were, asked, well, where did you get these ideas from? America. Jim Crow was the example for a lot of that shit that they did or were accused of doing. That one drop rule shit, the Germans said, no, that's too much. That's too much. No. Think about that. All right. Let's see. It is even harder to believe people think something that depraved can be fixed in such a short period of time, and especially so with millions of participants still living. Hello, critical race theory. I did not ask my friend why he picked 1895 as the date when this all begins. I know the answer. He could have selected an earlier date. In 1896, the Plessy decision effectively announced the beginning of Jim Crow in America. Yet, well before that date, America's legal racial apartheid is in full bloom. In 1870, Virginia passed one of the first Reconstruction-era Jim Crow laws. It was a destructive choice. White children and black children were legally mandated to attend separate schools, separate but equal. The system then accelerated. Between 1890 and 1908, Southern states took away African American voting rights and issued new constitutions. Why? This is in response to what? Reconstruction. Every state and some in the North passed Jim Crow laws. As quickly as African Americans became citizens, their rights were stripped much quicker. What is this supposed to tell you? You were never meant to prosper in this bitch. All right? This is the way they wanted it. Continuing on, it says, our American history is whitewashed. No pun intended. Who gives a shit? Anyway, some states like Florida are making it illegal today to teach actual history. What I tell you about critical race theory. Florida is fascist today in part, at least. Few children in America, all right, let's see. Yeah, few children in America are taught that President Woodrow Wilson was a rabid racial segregationist who turned the federal government into a Jim Crow government in the workspace. That's why that motherfucker at the so-called NAACP and Du Bois, they begged this man not to show Birth of a Nation. All right, and guess what he did? And that, the rebirth of the Klan, more lynchings. I'm sure you've heard of the summer of 1919. It was the Bloody Summer, or Red Summer, or something like that. But yeah, that was as a result of this piece of shit, you know, what he did. In addition, one of America's most famous presidents, Franklin Roosevelt, cut a dirty deal with Southern lawmakers during the New Deal period to deny African Americans their full rights to economic benefits. Wow, we're always getting the short end of the stick. And yet Jake wants to stay in this demonic ass place. People respect these men. Wilson and Roosevelt are American heroes to most people. Yep. Do you often wonder why James Baldwin said black people in America are in a rage? The quote from my friend sent me into a temporary rage. Luckily, I had this space to make sense of it and not go out of my mind. Thanks for reading. Wow. Wow. This is why. This is why we need a Savior. And we know who that Savior is. That is Yahweh Shai. You have to go through him to get to the Father. All right? He's the one that made that sacrifice for us. All right? You're seeing all these sightings now. You know, Zechariah 5 comes to mind. You know, in the house of the thief. This is the thief. They're down there in Haiti now. They're over in Africa. All right? They set up a so-called black face as the top general over there. All right? All that gold that was found in Uganda, and yet you're not hearing anything about that. And to show the hypocrisy, they complain, well, why is Russia in, you know, engaged in, you know, where they are, and then nobody wants to bring up the hypocrisy of the United States over in Haiti, you know? Not understanding what the fuck happened over there in the Ukraine. All right? This is all, well, that is staged. This shit over in Haiti is really sad. All right? And you're wondering, everybody wants to talk bad about the rebels, but you're not getting the straight scoop. So that's why it's really fucked up that someone will just jump, but again, going to propaganda. All right? You gotta understand, this media is a powerful ass weapon in the arsenal of these Edomites. All right? Because people just read and hear shit from these news organizations. All right, and they just eat it up. They just go along with it for the most part. You know, propaganda. That's what we've been talking about. This is how a lot of people growing up certain periods, but it's not any, you know, it's not that much better. I think of shows like, well, I used to watch Jay Leno, and he had a segment on his show. He's a car guy, you know. But he had a segment on his show called Jaywalking, and first few times I watched it, I said, "Oh, this shit has got to be scripted. No one is this stupid." Yep, he would just walk around and ask people, you know, questions about history and other topics that you would think people should know, especially like some of the people that profess to have college degrees. Funny, and it's really sad at the same time. All right, but this is America. You know, everybody hates this bitch, and for good reason. You know, none more, or I should say, should be the case than our people. But it's that spell that's been cast over. What's it called? What's that term? Real quick. I understand that time is going by, but let's real quick, because Jake, yeah, we need to get a fuck up out of here. It's called, oh my goodness, I drew a blank. It's called, I don't like to use Stockholm. Oh, there you go. Because this goes much deeper. There we go. Here we go. Called a colonial mentality or mindset. All right. Let's go straight to the middle. Wikipedia. A colonial mentality is the internalized attitude of ethnic or cultural inferiority felt by people as a result of colonialism. For example, them being colonized by another group. It corresponds with the belief that the cultural values of a colonizer, in this case, the nation of Edom, so-called white man, are inherently superior to one's own. The term has been used by post-colonial scholars to discuss the transgenerational. This is why you can't just get over it. Transgenerational effects of colonialism present in former colonies following decolonization. It is commonly used as an operational concept for framing ideological domination in historical colonial experiences. In psychology, colonial mentality has been used to explain instances of collective depression, anxiety, and other widespread mental health issues in populations that have experienced colonization. And that's why Dr. Joy DeGruy, I guess that's, if I'm saying her last name right, what was it, post-traumatic slave disorder? And she's right. You're just reading it, backing it up right here. In psychology, colonial mentality has been used to explain instances of collective depression, anxiety, and other widespread mental health issues in populations that have experienced colonialization. There you go. But yet, you'll hear, and that's why this says influences from Marxism. This is their counter when critical race theory is brought up. You're Marxist, BLM, which we don't condone because we know it's a front for the LGBTQ and whatever else letter they're trying to put in behind it. It was a front. It was set up by George Soros, who is a small hat. His cousin, by the way, is Zelensky, the president of Ukraine. yeah, so when I say we need a savior, that's exactly what I mean. This whole thing has been about probably the biggest game of keep away that you have ever heard of or been a part of. Don't let these people, that's Psalms 83, by definition that is conspiracy. Don't let these people know who they are, but it's too late. So that's why the next thing is for him to take these drastic steps, all right, whether it be making some excuse to, do away with the internet, Amos 8 and 11, that famine of the word, or just start, locking people up when they push this C-hip, But yeah, so next month, December, is when they're supposed to kick this CBDC, this digital currency, all right, and which will spell the end of cash or the money system that we've been used to. Everything's going digital. This is all about control. That's all it ever. And you still have people that don't believe this because they bought that, again, propaganda. All right, the lie, and not realizing, all right, well, it'll be more convenient, and it's not more secure. None of this shit is more secure than the old pencil and paper and lock shit up in a vault or whatever have you. All this shit has been heading toward a way of just more control of the people. That's all it's ever been. That's what this devil, he's been trying to perfect his craft. And he's at that point, hey, he knows that he's seeing these wonders in the heavens, the celestial signs, the so-called UFOs. And he knows, hey, Revelation 12 and 12, he knows he had but a short time. So he's trying to get this new world order set up. It doesn't matter if you believe it or not. These are things that are happening. Hey, so with that, I'm not going to ramble on. But once again, we've been talking about the fascist states of the American South. All right. And that he said this, just don't get, this is the country as a whole. Yes, the South is a whole different thing, but motherfuckers in the North didn't like us either. All right. So, hey, until the next video, hey, shalom.